Welcome to the RSP Film Room. I'm Matt Waldman with the Rookie Scouting Portfolio. We're going to take a look at Jerome Ford, the running back for the Cincinnati Bearcats. Transferred from Alabama after redshirting there. Was a three-star recruit. What you're going to see is he's listed as a 5'10 or 5'11, 220-pound back. I'd probably bet money that he's not 220 pounds, probably more between 205 and 215. He entered school as a 206-pound guy, and I have a feeling he probably wasn't even that when he came to the league. But what I like about Jerome Ford is he's a sophisticated runner when it comes to working between the tackles. You can see here he does a terrific job of pressing this crease. Let's look at it one more time. Oftentimes when we look at college prospects, they see the open space right here, and they move immediately to it. They just run right to that spot. The problem with that, and we've seen this with guys like Jalen Warren and Kyron Williams, is that when they run immediately to space, well, guys like number 94 are wide open here to be able to make a play, and the runner's already declared the angle. But when you compress the crease a little bit more, deeper into the line, that creates a better angle for you that the defender's not going to be able to reach. So he's right up on the backs of these blockers because he's pressing tight. That's forcing these defenders to collapse inside towards him, and then he can make that cut outside. Avoids the reach of the defensive back, gets 7 yards on the play. This is nice work. And you can see it from this angle one more time, that he presses very tight. If you can get within a step of the line or where the push is of your blockers, that gives you depth to make that bounce outside that this defender on the left isn't going to be able to bring you down because you're deep enough in the line before you make that cut. This is a common theme with Ford, whether he's working inside or outside. He understands how to press his blocks. And when you do that, it makes your cutbacks or your bounces more effective. And here he is following the puller. He's working to the outside shoulder. See how he sets that edge to the outside shoulder? That's going to force the pursuit to come downhill harder because it seems like he's working towards that outside. They're going to flow harder to the outside. That gives him time to be able to make a couple of steps and then access that backside crease. And he helped create that backside crease with that cutback. And you can see he has nice burst. So when he gets downhill here, and once he turns on the jets here, he's going to get a good 5 to 7 yards just from that acceleration, even as he has a backside defender wrap him up right there. And that acceleration also gives him a little bit of momentum-based power. So when he gets downhill here and he gets wrapped, he doesn't go immediately down. He's able to drag that defender at least another 3 or 4 yards. Let's take a look at it from this point of view, and you're going to see once again as he works towards that outside. See how he's working towards that outside shoulder? That gets the cornerback to wait there and to not try to collapse inside. Everybody else is flowing to the outside, and he's able to cut back downhill and stay tight enough. See how he doesn't go immediately towards this backside pursuit? He stays tight to the hip of his block right there and bends it outside a little bit more, and that helps him get some extra yardage as well. One of the things that really sets Jerome Ford apart is his stop-start quickness. When you watch him here, watch him get into the crease and make that little stop-start move to avoid, I think that's a linebacker. Let's take a look whether it's a linebacker or defensive back. It's a linebacker. Here's a linebacker at the right hash. And follow the linebacker as he works outside a couple steps and comes back inside and gets inside 56. He's getting into a position where he's going to be able to square up Ford. Ford gets right there, and Ford is basically a yard away from the defender's angle. The linebacker has the angle right here. He's a yard away and still quick enough to be able to sidestep that man. And when you can have that stop-start ability to get that tight that helps you not only with pressing creases, but of course in the open field. So when we watch him here, he takes his ball, he can juke outside and then in succession make a second move to juke back to the inside or outside in, whichever direction you want to call it, inside out, outside in, left to right. The fact that he can set up a defender going one way, then the other, and he does it with a little bit of a hip turn. Notice again, this is a guy who has jump cuts in his arsenal. This is someone who can jump stop, jump cut, start, stop, spin. But also when he makes this move, watch that inside foot, the right foot. See how he points the toe first and opens the hips and slides right outside? Very efficient, so he can combine dynamic and efficient movement. And that's what makes him so good at being able to make people miss in tight spaces. Ford also has some potential to become a complete running back at the pro level. You can see him flanked to the left side. He's going to do a great job of picking up this blitz. Now, when I say great job, it's not a great punch. But what I like, and you're going to see this as a regular thing with him, is that he starts inside and works his way outside. He knows that maybe he has to account for the linebacker here, and then starting inside out allows him to have an angle where it also forces the outside man to widen a little bit. And he does a good job being able to get a square position, squat with his hips a little bit, get some knee bend there. All he needs to learn how to do is really learn how to strike. And you can see he's a little bit of light in the load. I mean, when he gets hit here, if this is a 220-pound back hit by a safety here, I'm not expecting him to get knocked up into the air like that unless he's at a really bad angle. And while this isn't a great angle, if he delivers a punch and meets this, he's not going to get thrown back like that. This is a lighter guy. And while I think Ford has the potential for every down upside, he's going to be able to start his career as a scat back in short order. And part of that is the quickness and the ability to make people miss in space. When you have a draw play, which is kind of a design run where you hope to create an open field type of look, here he is, and he does a nice job again of sticking inside, cutting to the outside, and making that linebacker miss. And he makes a second defender miss, the safety over there. The fact that he can make multiple defenders miss as he's still heading downhill and do it in succession, I mean, that gives you a lot of value, not only as a space player in the run game, as a punt returner, as a kickoff returner. He's been able to do that as a receiver in the open field. He's going to get some reps early on in his career if he can hold on to the ball, which is probably the biggest issue in his game. And you can see here that while he carries the ball to the appropriate side, whether it's left or right, and oftentimes the ball is high towards his chest, you can see the elbow sticking out wide here. This is just ripe to getting punched out by pursuit. And he's got to learn how to keep that ball tighter to his frame, or the elbow tighter to his frame, so defenders can't get in there and chop it loose or punch it loose. Now, one of the places where Jerome Ford does a good job of being able to punch as a pass protector is interior blitzes. This is a double A gap blitz. He works outside in. See how he accounts for number 30? Here's number 30. I think, 30 right here. He accounts for number 30, looking outside there, and then sees that the inside man is coming and slides towards the inside man to help pick that up. And see how he pins that man into the line? That's a lot of that has to do with his hands on this particular play. He's able to deliver a punch. He's able to move his feet through the contact. Now, one of the reasons he's able to do this well is that the defender doesn't have a two-way go. The defender's only moving in one direction, and he doesn't have to account for an inside rush. If the defender could go either direction, this is where I think Ford has some issues as a blocker. But when he knows the defender's only moving in one direction, then he can attack, get his hands into the chest, uppercut through, and move his feet to pin that defender into a fellow lineman. If he can do this type of punch and movement of his feet in two-way go situations where the defender could go either left or right, and he has to account for both directions, then you're going to really see some advancement from Ford as a blocker. Ford moves really well. Watch him on this outside run moving from right to left here, and watch him turn inside that cornerback to get that corner. We're going to watch it from this angle, and you're going to see this is an example of curvy linear movement, where you're not really cutting, you're just planting and being able to bend in a way that you can bend your path back to the inside without losing a lot of speed. The fact that he can beat a cornerback to the inside, not lose acceleration with this bend right here, like he's cornering on a road like a motorcycle cornering, that's curvy linear movement. Dalvin Cook does this very well. And you can see that Ford also does it well. The fact that he's able to, get inside that containment on the edge, very helpful. This is one of my favorite plays against Central Florida. And it's the contact balance that I like. The power at the end is nice in terms of being able to drag defensive backs. But what I love here is his ability to basically kick up his feet right here. See how he kicks up that back foot in stride? He has to do that when he's avoiding the linebacker who's shooting across, or the safety. Say if he's shooting across here, and he kicks that inside foot up, but now he's got to get it down quickly so that he can maintain balance. In order to do that, he's got to extend his legs in a way so that he can stay balanced with the stride that he had, but he's got to displace some, a little bit of the path of where that stride is. So in order to accommodate what he was doing before, he has to lengthen that back foot some to maintain that balance, and then he can regain his balance going through there. So the fact that he can, he has the hip flexibility, he has the leg flexibility in the inner leg, the inner muscles of the thigh to be able to, extend like that, the hamstrings, and he can recover right here, get wrapped up, and then still spin off that defender's wrap attempt and get another 7, 8 yards off of that is fantastic. Let's take a look at it from this angle here. And a little bit of the change of direction. I love the alteration of his stride here just before the defender shoots across. Here comes the safety. Watch him, 2 little stutter steps. And now he's going to kick that foot up so he can get it back down in short order without getting too much, having to get too much depth of space. And then he spins off that next hit right there. This is just a really nice display of balance that you want to see, the hip flexibility and the fact that he can kind of account for this happening and then still be in a position, get quickly back in a position where he can be at balance and be able to spin through that defender's wrap and break the tackle. It's just nice work. It's instinctive, and also someone who has worked on their feet to a degree that they can solve problems like this and solve a variety of different problems within the same run. Speed isn't a problem. You're going to see Ford here with I think it's a 73-yard touchdown run here. He follows the pulling guard, starts outside him again. He's able to press effectively to work outside in. And that sets up that block. Watch how it sets up the block. Let's see if we can show right here. Here's the linebacker. Watch how that little press outside moves him further to the end. Watch how this linebacker is able to, when you press towards the outside, the linebacker moves to that outside. That gives this pulling guard room to be able, or the position to be able to set up this block. And then he works through that nice little crease and then is able to beat the safety and just extend that run. So you can see that he's got the speed right there. It's nice. Let's take a look at it more. And you see 11. Watch 11 based on 24. He watches 24 move to the right there, so he slides more to the right. slides him right into the path of that pulling guard. And then he can work through it, squeeze through it, accelerate past the defensive back. All right, we're going to take another look at Ford's pass protection here. And again, watch how he works inside out. He knows he has this outside man that he's going to probably have to block, but he works inside, and that gets him tighter to his tackle, and that gives him an opportunity to force this defender more to the outside, and that way there's no two-way go. He eliminates that two-way go, and he's able to deliver a hit. Now, one of the questions you might have here is, what about 24? Who's taking on 24? You can see that the left tackle here goes towards 95 and cuts 95, and 24 is left free. So in this case, yes, you'd probably like to see him, Ford, take on the inside man as opposed to the outside man. But what's interesting about this is when you look at the guard works inside to take on a man too, and he has 95 right here. So you can see that there's some kind of assignment issues here, both with the guard and probably Ford in terms of them being accurate with what they needed to do. But Ford does have two guys he has to look at here, and he winds up with the outside guy. Not particularly the best choice, but the fact that he works inside out is a good sign, and you just want to see him get a little bit better with diagnosis. I like that in pass pro. He's willing to work across the field. Obviously, he's going that direction with play action, but he shuffles the feet pretty well, gets square. He's able to deliver his pads into the chest. He likes to deliver, chip-like blocks, where, the type of technique you would use on a chip, where you lead with the shoulder. And he's pretty good at striking in this fashion. It's just that he's going to have to get better at using his hands, or else he's not going to be quite as versatile as you need him to be in every situation. But the fact that he can incrementally get outside and then deliver that shoulder right into the chest to knock that defender back, it's nice work. Now, this is obviously a small play. It's one catch for 1 yard. But I like some of the things that you're going to see here as he works outside to the left flat. Watch one that he extends his hands. He's able to extend his hands behind the break point here. Turn and make the catch with his hands right there, and then take the hit to the back. That's good focus, concentration, ability to track the ball. Those are all things that are important, whether it's a 1 yard reception or a much bigger play. There's the extension. See, the hands are up and in position. Meets the ball, takes the hit. One of the things that I like about Jerome Ford is that while he can make you miss a lot, if he has to drop the pads into the crease, he'll do it. Here's number 7. 7's going to slide into the crease last minute. Ford's able to drop his pads right into the linebacker, move him back about 2-3 steps before the cavalry comes and is able to wrap him up some. But this is a back who can pull through reaches and wraps from linebackers and defensive backs and be able to inflict some punishment or at least initiate a collision so that he can get a push. It's another nice display of creativity by Jerome Ford. Some good stop-start movement here. He's going to anticipate some of the push into the line here. Makes a jump stop right here. And then he balance touch is right there because he's going to have to try and turn back to the outside. Takes just a couple of short steps and recovers there. Points the toe, gets outside, then dips right back inside behind there. So he understands about trying to get downhill and that he can make shorter, quicker movements to make defenders miss in tight space and not try to bounce it all the way outside. Just press the outside lane, cut back downhill. And he's able to pull through some reaches here by linebackers in addition to that. So, this is somebody who can create in some bad situations and generate positive plays. Keep you on schedule when things aren't blocked as well as you'd like to see. That penetration in the backfield, there's the jump stop. He almost brings the hand down for the bounce touch, doesn't need to. Opens the toe right there, bounces outside one defender, cuts back in the other, squeezes through this tight crease. Nice little stiff arm on the linebacker there. You can see that nice little stiff arm on number 40. Let's see if we can show it right here. that stiff arm right on him. That just kind of wards off the defender from being able to wrap up. It's just more of a reach instead of a wrap because of that stiff arm. And then takes the hit from the defensive back. And we'll end with this one. This is another strong display of movement by Jerome Ford because you're going to see him here work inside. You're going to see the linebacker shoot this gap. And so he decides to bend this outside, anticipating that. And as he bends it outside, while he could get tight maybe downhill here, he's gauging what this defender 27 is going to do. And when he gets, close to the line and presses that, the defender collapses all the way in. And at that point, Ford does a good job of right there pointing the toe. See how well he pointed that toe? Those hips just flipped very quickly. Plant, flip. Hips are flipped, already facing the outside, and quick enough to get around that defender. And then bend it back downhill. So, you're seeing a guy who can flip the hips and then has the curvilinear movement to still get downhill and bend inside number 6 and make him miss. So 16-yard gain on this play, and you're watching him against, some top athletes at Notre Dame here as well. But the fact that he can press inside, get within a step or a yard of the line of scrimmage, right about here, and flip the hip like that sharply, very efficient. So, Jerome Ford, this guy has a chance to be a complete back. I see a little Cadillac Williams in him, and what Cadillac Williams used to be at Auburn, which was a guy who could make multiple defenders miss in tight space, had enough functional power to break tackles. He basically got hurt too early in his NFL career to be able to amount to what his promise had shown. But this is a guy with quickness and speed like Cadillac. There's a little bit of Jamal Charles to this guy. I don't think he's as quick or as lightning fast as Jamal Charles was. But, the ability to press tight, the short area quickness, the flexible hips, the dynamic moves, the ability to catch, a little more power than you would expect for his size, or at least the ability to work off of contact. It's compelling. This is one of the more compelling running backs that I've seen in this class thus far, and one of the few that I'm actually, kind of excited about seeing how he develops down the line. Obviously there's other good backs in this class, don't get me wrong. But this is a guy that some of the things he does really stands out. If he can just protect the football a little bit better, keep that. He's got the arm high right there to the chest. That's great. Keep the elbow tight. He's doing that a little bit more. He improved this year with his ball security, but if he can continue to improve, we're looking at a guy who might be one of those starter scat backs in the league, like a Jamal Charles once was. Thanks again for watching. For more RSP Boiler Room videos, you can check out my YouTube channel, Matt Waldman's RSP Film Room, and my site, www.mattwaldmanrsp.com.